Welcome to Shooting the Shift. I'm Bam. That's Matt.
Hi.
That's Bryn. That's Milton. Flubba Bryn.
Don't call him my leprechaun for nothing, do we?
Bryn and Ben the Flower Pot Men. Is that where we're at now, Bryn?
Bryn and Ben.
I wasn't prepared. I forgot I had to say hello.
So, yeah. Anyway, speaking of disasters this week.
That was a brilliant segue.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. Anyone would think I'd been in sales meetings all week and was on
Have you been watching Linus Tech Tips with those segues?
No. Milton, no.
Don't worry, the joke's lost on you.
The joke is lost on me, Milton, yeah.
At least you can use speaking of disasters again.
Speaking of disasters. Speaking of everything going wrong. So, everybody, I think, by now has seen the news that that last week there was a 7.1 on the Richter scale earthquake off the coast of Fukushima again. And flying across the screen right now, there's some pictures of Ebisu, and this short video kind of shows you how bad it is on the ground. So it's all kind of, yeah, there's a bit of mud on the track, I think is the technical term.
When they say debris on track, it's a bit extreme on this one.
It's it's not a good one. So this week's episode, we're going to kind of talk about tracks, our favourite tracks that have been and gone. It's going to make Bryn emotional. I can see it. He doesn't want to go here. He's been putting it off for a few weeks. But I think Ebisu is one of those tracks that we all kind of wanted to go to, right? Even me with my not drifty ways wanted to go. Partly because I'd quite like to say I learnt to drift at Ebisu. It's a little bit of a flex.
It's also a zoo.
I'm in. I completely forgot about it.
Do you not know it was a zoo as well? There's tigers and...
I did, but I forgot about it. So actually, when doing the research for this week's episode, really important thing, none of the animals have been hurt.
No one's been hurt. No, I don't... well, at Ebisu anyway.
Yeah, no one's been hurt at Ebisu. They're basically saying don't set up any crowdfunding at the moment. We suspect that's because they want to see what kind of state the track's in.
Didn't you say... Is there some laws against it as well? Like accepting money from...
There could be. So I'm not 100%. I know
He told Caller research is being done.
In some countries, you can't apply for government grants for support following a disaster if you've already started raising funds privately.
So you wait, see what insurance and government says, and then you go, they're only going to give us £10.50.
Let's fill
Please help.
Yeah. And Japan's normally pretty good at disaster recovery. I think...
They build bridges in like days, don't they?
I think they'll be all right at Ebisu, given that it is such a popular thing, and it's also worth pointing out that it's not like the whole place. There's basically two tracks are damaged. Driftland, which is like a tiny little one, and then is it Higashi Circuit, which is the fast one that is very famous. But
oh yeah, I thought it was North Course.
It's not one of the main ones that they use. They use it a lot, but it's not like the only track.
It's practice day track, isn't it? Where Minami, which is the main one, is what they use for competitions and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just looking down down their Facebook page. The West Course. There's a landslide on the West Course, and the course is not a situation that can be used. It's classic Facebook translations there, but it looks like the West Course. There's two tracks that have been damaged.
Yeah.
The West Course is one of them, but it doesn't say what the other one is.
You can see in the video we've just shown the extent of the cracking to the tarmac. It's going to be that is the kind of thing that a council just gives up on a road for in the UK. Like, they just never come and fix.
And interestingly, I'm sure they said they're just closed. Ebisu is closed, which makes sense. But there's a lot of tracks, but they have just decided wholesale to close everything. Which
I think they're guessing just in case maybe aftershock or say because all the mud has been disturbed and they don't want another landslide being triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll read a quote from their Facebook page from the 17th. We would like to take this opportunity to inform all our customers and business partners that we will not be open for business for the foreseeable future. And thank you to all our customers and business partners for their understanding. In the meantime, we will continue our efforts to prevent secondary disasters, giving top priority to the prevention of human casualties and inconvenience to others. So I would say they're trying to assess the hill where the landslide was. Yeah. To check that no more is going to happen while they're trying to clear up the bottom. You're clearing up the bottom and another landslide happens, it's going to be a whole lot worse.
Start from the top, didn't you?
Absolutely. And there'd be, as much as we could all say, like, no one's getting on a plane to fly there tomorrow to go drifting anyway. Thanks to the bat-eating virus.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good thing in a way that it's not been in one of their major seasons that would raise them.
Was it been Matsuri around now? I don't know.
I know that
Spring, Matsuri, and another one.
March, yeah.
I know that significantly more famous than us YouTuber Samet was there the day before drifting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so as I was doing the research for this episode, I did have a look around at what it was about. If you want to check out some of the damage, Samit on his Instagram has quite a few photos of kind of the scale of what we're talking about here. But it's one of those things that's really, to my mind, we're lucky over here that our tracks don't get destroyed like that.
Just get shut down all of a sudden into car parks.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We are gonna get to that in a minute. I think we should. I think we need to. There's other things. There's Epping Forest Borough Council closed down a drag strip a couple of years ago because of noise complaints.
That was
Essex Arena.
The drag strip was the one in Warwickshire, wasn't
it? Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
I can't anymore either. But we did release a sticker that had a word that I'm not going to say on YouTube this week. Epping Forest District Council in a nice block of silver stuff.
Yeah. I remember
at the time, because I think I threw my toys out the basket about it because it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember.
Is it that meme of Nigel moves next to a track, complains about track?
Yeah, it's exactly that. And like this is one of the things that really annoys me is that in the UK, I think we're going the wrong way. In Japan, tracks and motorsport are encouraged because they know it keeps people off the street.
Yeah,
right?
That's the thing is I'll go back to a meme, but you see it. People street race. They complain about street racing, so they go to the track, complain about noise on track. They go back and shut the tracks to go to the street again. So it's like a.
Not all of it is straight up noise complaints though. Admittedly, a lot of it is. So.
Or an unsociable behavior. Unsociable, yeah.
So I think one of the what's the track in Leicester? Beginning with M.
Norfolk Arena.
Not what?
Norfolk Arena in Leicester, mate.
I don't. I did GCSE geography.
Mallory Park.
Yeah, Mallory.
Yeah. They had quite a lot of noise complaints because the houses and that are quite close to the track. But you look at Rockingham, and that was nothing to do with noise complaints because they built it in a place that was nowhere near any neighbourhoods, and that was on purpose.
They'd also done a very, very good job of the noise control with things like the banks. If you left Rockingham Circuit, you couldn't hear what was going on anymore because they'd done a really good job of enclosing it all in a
That's good. They got the oval.
That's why as you drive up to it, there's a big wall of poorly built grandstands, so it blocks all the noise coming out. It's pretty much like a football stadium. In fact, that when the first time I went there and drove up towards it, I just thought it was a football stadium because that's what it looks like from the outside.
Giant football stadium.
Like, if
The
I
best
turned
kind
down the
of
wrong
football
street,
stadium, Bryn. One that doesn't have any footballers in it.
They'd fall over and cry.
it's a shame Rockingham was destined to fail from the start, though.
Yeah.
I think, and again, we're going to move on from this because Bryn's already getting sad. We're going to hold it and we're going to make everybody wait till the end of the episode to watch Bryn cry. Speaking of watching to the end of the episode, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what we do. And leave in the comments what you want us to talk about next week, because 1 week there's not going to be any news stories, so we're not going to know what to kick off with. But yeah, so if you just look at the UK compared to especially the States and Japan,
Don't get me started. Look in America, they can have drift week, so they've got a week worth of.
I think a thing to point out in America is they have vast amounts of land over
That's
there,
the thing.
so they can just pick a random place in the middle of the desert and put a track there, and they're like 200 miles from everyone.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's
sat where we are in the Midlands, we're 200 miles from the coast in all directions.
Yeah.
then there's only one thing for it, Matt. We're going to have to get all Dubai on the problem, build an artificial island, and then there's no houses near our racetrack.
But
That'll work.
no one lives on those islands. Apparently, the project never finished.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Throw lots of money at it and then
If
leave
someone
it. Yeah?
turned around to me and said, "I've piled a load of sand in the sea, do you want to live on it?" I'm just going to go, no. Not into that, thanks.
Pretty good place for a track, though. But I mean, that is the problem. One of the problems with the UK is obviously it's a small country, not a lot of land mass, but it's a small country with not a lot of ridiculous shape to it. A lot of other small countries that have a lot of racetracks, you put the racetrack somewhere out of the way. We can't really do that because there's nowhere in the UK which is unbuildable enough that people don't live there. And the only places that are like that are national parks. So, you know.
Or mountains.
So whooshy thing, thanks to Milton, and why we don't get good quality tracks in the UK.
Because I remember that. So no, part of the problem is not enough space that's unusable for anything else. And I think the other part of the problem potentially is kind of an attitude in this country. There's kind of, certainly in America, there's the yeehaw, hell yeah, brother mentality kind of thing. And I get the impression, as you've said, with people, noise complaints, council complaints and things like that. Here, potentially more than other places, we pander a little bit more to that. Until recently, I know laws have changed, but I get the impression here, if you complain about something, it's more likely to stop the thing than you to be told, get
a life. That's the phrase.
Yeah. But the thing with noise complaints and that, it's not exclusive to racetracks.
No.
Because it applies to airports and nightclubs and stuff. And it's the
that...
people that move in next to an airport and then complain about the noise that get me.
If I moved in next to a racetrack, I would be responsible for 80% of the noise coming from that racetrack.
Well, that's the thing. I'd love to live next to a racetrack because I like listening to
I like
racetracks.
the ones... Have you seen that house in Texas that's like £300,000 and your driveway just has access to a pit lane?
Yeah, that's something you're just not going to get over here because we don't have the space to do it.
No. And now that the cheesy Whatsit isn't in charge, I'd probably move to the States. I'd consider it.
I have genuinely thought about it many, many times.
He's not going to build a wall to keep me out now.
I think all four of us are going to go at some point because the UK is just a horrible place to live at times.
I don't know. The UK's not a horrible place to live. Don't get wrong.
I said at times.
It's got some really beautiful scenery out where I live, but every time I go through the local village at 20 mile an hour, someone posts on the village's Facebook page that there's been a car speeding through the village again. I could tell by the noise. No. It's just my stagia. It's just loud, love. But I mean, like getting back to racetracks. So, we have. I think, like in the UK, if a landslide hit Buxton, for example, it's a track up in the mountains.
Immeasurably.
Yeah, but it's a track in the mountains, so there's similarity.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah. So we're going for at least I've picked a thing that's moderately similar, Brain.
It looks like there's already been a landslide in the car park at Buxton. Please pick a better example. What if bits of Anglesey fell into the sea?
Okay.
There you go.
No, because if bits of Anglesey fall into the sea, you've got to build a whole new track. If there's a landslide at Buxton, they're not going to fix it. The locals will just go, well, we've got rid of that noise nuisance.
Yeah.
I don't know about Buxton because it's not really near anybody's houses.
No, it's a little bit.
That is close. You don't realise it when you're at Buxton. That is actually quite close to civilization.
Not as close as some tracks.
Yeah, not as close as some, certainly.
But then in Japan, they'll go, yeah, we'll fix that. And they don't view people. They don't necessarily view everybody who modifies their car as a boy racer.
The problem you've got is it's a culture thing if you compare to different countries to different countries. So I've got two examples of this. You go to Sao Paulo in Brazil, the track is literally in the city centre. That's literally where it is, and they absolutely adore racing there, and they will not have that shut down for love nor money. The other side of that is you go to Imola it's not in Japan, in Italy, and there were shots from the Formula One last year. And as they're coming down the straights, you can see somebody's back garden. Like they literally border up to the fence of the circuit. And the Italians love racing as well.
And actually, thinking of that, when I go out to the office in Melbourne, the Grand Prix circuit's like, what, a 10-minute walk for me?
Yeah, again, that's practically in the city centre. And it's a culture of people that love cars and racing and stuff like that. And it's not something we get so much in the UK anymore. Like, through the 80s, through the touring car eras, and through like Mansell and Senna, that sort of era in the Formula One, it was loved by everyone, and it's sort of been on a decline in this country since then.
I think the reality is as you look through UK tracks, Silverstone's probably not going to go anywhere. It's too famous to go anywhere.
Especially with the Formula One contract coming every single year, and they're picking up like World Rallycross these days as well. So I think they've got plenty of income.
Anglesey, I noticed when I was over in Anglesey in the brief gap where we could escape our homes, that they've
out
got
of the way.
They've got signs everywhere around that track saying, effectively, don't be silly.
I think that's the another part of the problem is people leaving tracks.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Lyddon Hill. I think that's one of the main reasons Drift Days got stopped at Lyddon, was people skidding all day and then skidding on the way out.
Can't be trusted.
But that's
one of the stances Santa Pod has taken. It's like, if you get caught doing skids on the way out on your way home, and the local police will tell them who it is and ban them from any future drift event.
And and shows they just instead of fighting the council and police, they work with them and say, look, if you do anything, if you mess around at a show, it gets treated like a public highway.
Yeah.
So it will get police in and arrest you if you're drinking or otherwise engaged while driving around the show.
Yeah.
It's the nature of things, though, in that some people lack self-control.
I think some people lack common sense.
And that, yeah.
Well, I lack common sense, but I still have a little bit of, like, not when it comes to food, obviously, but I do have a little bit of self-control in that I know when it is appropriate to drive fast and when it's not.
There's a time and a place, and 99% of the time it is on a track. That's the whole point of track days. That's why they were started.
Yeah, And that's the thing. It's not like we're without track days to go and play. I think we're boring Bryn. He's doing his bored Bryn face.
Now that's his thinking. That you're going to see a puff of smoke and he's going to 3D print something.
He's trying to psychologically prepare for me going in on drift days at Rockingham at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So that he doesn't ball up and cry. But I'll
Which
just
track
edit
are you...
some giant cartoon tears onto his face anyway.
When we're allowed to go back out, what's the first track you want to go to? Obviously, I know cars aren't done and stuff, but...
Want to go to and will go to are two different things.
Right, your car's done and it's fine, blah, blah. What track are you going to in the UK?
Me, I'm going to take the 5. If the 5 or the Stadia is done, I'm going to go at Pod and just see how quick she is in a straight line. But
I'll be seeing how fast mine is in a corner.
And then Alton. I quite like Alton, and it's quite local to me.
Alton Park, is that the one that's a mini Nürburgring? It's very hilly and Cadwell?
Yeah, that is
Cadwell's hilly. Knock Hill's another one that's hilly.
Yeah, it's Cadwell. Knock Hill's Scotland and two-wheel touring cars.
I do want to drive Knock Hill at some point.
Genuinely, I'm curious. I am actually curious how speaking of Scottish tracks, how Driftland get away with it.
They're in the middle of nowhere.
Near anything. There's nothing near Driftland. When you go to Driftland, you come off a dual carriageway on some weird little junction, and then you drive past a few factories, and you keep driving, and then you get to a small track that's in a bowl. There is no one to complain anywhere near.
Are they purpose built up there?
No, she's.
What?
Yes.
Driftland?
Yeah.
It's a purpose-built. It's a UK's only purpose-built drift circuit.
Yeah, and before next to Driftland, before it was there, is a stock car track that's been there for quite a long time, and Driftland is built next to that, and they sort of share this little complex.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Because that's one of the places I would quite like to go and film you lot.
I would like to try Driftland.
Well, you can hire the track out, so it could be something we look at in the future.
It's interesting, Driftland, actually. It's a lot smaller than you think it's going to be. Certainly than I ever thought it was going to be when you get there. But it's not small by any means. It's plenty big enough to have fun. But it just looks so much bigger in your head than when you get there.
Because there's so many layouts, but it's all quite...
I think
if you just did the
videos don't give it justice to the size. But... we'll have to go there at some point and rent it out and do some proper filming.
Yeah.
Quite expensive, if I remember rightly.
It's not too bad. In terms of what track, like Matt says, what you want to go to and what you will go to are two very different things, right? When my car is done, I'm probably going to go to either Pod or Wheels because they're local to me and I can do some testing there. I'm actually not excited to go to anywhere at all. I really am not. It's part of the reason this has been taking so long is because when this engine's in the car, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Pod or Wheels. Great. And I think that's part of the reason for the decline in this country. Certainly in drifting, other kinds of track days you're allowed on big tracks. Drifting is not allowed on proper tracks. Nobody really lets it. So
I think that might be changing.
I really hope it does because that would change things.
Well,
yeah, I know. Vanners has been out at Silverstone.
Well, Silverstone has done demos for quite a while there. I remember, we're talking about 5 or 6 years ago, that Donington at Japfest 2 did do full circuit drift demos, and that was the only year that I ever remember that. But this year, we've now got 3 drift championships in the UK. So I think UK Motorsports picked something up as well. If you look at, what's the new one? UK Drift Championship, I think it is.
Which is Sweeps Championship.
Yeah.
Drift Cup.
They've got the likes of Donington and Silverstone as venues. I think with drifting being the fastest growing motorsport in the world, bar maybe rallycross, I think tracks are starting to open up and go, actually, yeah, we can make some money off this.
And I'm really hoping that's the case because I think that's what you need. I think there's a little bit of a cycle at the moment. For part of the reason for the decline is that there's nothing out there that people want to do. Right? You imagine, go back to Ebisu as an example, you're saying that they're going to rebuild it. You imagine living near Ebisu. It's a track that's basically open whenever you want. There's just a gatehouse. You go, you turn up, you do some skids. There's not like organized days that you have to be there. You imagine living near that. You would be there all the time and you would be incredibly proud of it. People who live near Teesside are really into Teesside drifting. Like, that's their thing. And when Rockingham was here, I was really into Rockingham. But if you live further south than here, the guys in the south are always complaining they don't have any tracks. And it's very hard to find motivation to be excited and support tracks if they're not that exciting. And then you get into the loop that there's no exciting tracks because nobody's excited about it. So these championships coming up and possibly bringing some of those big venues is really important to get that back. And if Donington can move from a competition venue into a place to do practice days, I will be that excited again, and I will put my all into it. And I have messaged actually Sweeps and somebody else previously who was looking at Donington and said, if there is anything I can do to help make this a thing, let me know, because I'm so into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other things to mention is, as you mentioned, specifically Ebisu, because it's open all the time, there are going to be people traveling in from other countries. And they're going to be bringing business with them because they're going to stay in local hotels, so they're close to the track, and they're going to eat and live, and they might stay a week.
I think,
and if the track disappears, you're going to lose that income.
I think we're actually, Bryn, I think to your point about other tracks allowing practices, I think we're going to be coming out of, whenever we can go back out, in a really unique situation for motorsport in this country, in that pretty much all the tracks are kind of cash starved. So they're going to experiment in what they can do. If you look at Japan's lockdown was kind of brief and harsh compared to ours, but they're basically living a normal life right now, other than earthquakes aside and all that stuff. Whereas over here, we're now in month 2, probably going to roll through month 3, so that's another quarter for the year.
About third lockdown.
Nothing has been going on, and from a business point of view, that makes sense. It's diversify or die time for some of the tracks.
The thing is, what they need to do is just look at what Rockingham did. Their main track got shut, but Learn to Drift, they managed to keep that outer paddock. And if you ask, where did you drift Rockingham? When was the most fun? It was, a lot of people said out of paddock because they never did in a paddock, but they had the most fun at out of paddock, which is a car park.
I remember auto solo on the track at Rockingham.
I think one of the key things for drifting specifically is, and auto solos as well, and you'll find this if you go to Donington, they have what they call the tarmac lake. And it is literally just a massive square footage of tarmac, flat, smooth tarmac. And for auto solos and drifting and that sort of thing, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. Because we'll arrive and bring our own cones and set up our own track.
It's definitely fun drifting on, because we've done Three Sisters. You both were here, wherever you are. And that was a lot of fun because you had curbs and you had apexes and natural clipping points to direct you, and it was cool to be on a racetrack. Yes, it's a karting circuit, but same thing.
Yeah.
But then when you've got a tarmac arrow, you can put tyre walls and concrete blocks, and you can replicate any track that you want.
The thing with, so the difference between the two is you go to Three Sisters, every single time you go to Three Sisters, it's the same track. There's no way around that. Whereas you go to a big Rockingham, they lay it out differently every single time, and that was part of the fun of it, because you got to learn and do new things because the track was different every single time.
And you need both. I think you really need both.
Absolutely.
Possibly something that we're kind of lacking. So here, where we live, you've got Wheels and you used to have Rockingham, and you've got Pod, which are all, cone tracks, and you can kind of do little bits of them. But you need both. Like I want little fun tracks that change all the time, but at the same time, like Milton says, You want somewhere where you're on track and it's cool and there's a curb and you're going really fast. You can't go fast on a car park because they're not big enough.
That's one of the things that I like about going on tracks, because I've driven Donington for a grip day, and it is different to being out on the road because you've got loads and loads of runoff. So you can, at Donington anyway, you can push harder, and there is consequences if you go off, because if you go off at Cadwell, there's not a lot of room before you hit the wall, and that's different to doing it at the tarmac lake where you have a spin and you can go on for miles before you hit anything.
And if you go off at Rockingham, you smash your deuce bumper. Sad face. Twice we did that, didn't we, Matt?
Yeah.
Is that because he led you
all
astray?
that time protecting that bumper and then one off.
We did the same thing twice on the same corner, and both times made the bumper very sad.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think, like, Ebisu is going to be rebuilt. We all know that, right? That's a fact. If you look at the damage done 11 years ago, the I Love Ebisu hoodie was released. They made money. The track was fixed. It's going to happen again because it's one of those tracks with a cult following outside of its country. If I spoke to my American friends about tracks in the UK, they'd only bring up Silverstone. I was talking to one of my friends in Japan recently when I was looking at more cars again, or parts for stuff that I've got. I can't remember what it was actually about, but again, Silverstone, like, that's it. And actually,
if you get a die-hard Formula One fan, you'll get Donington brought up because they raced there once. But I just think we don't have enough tracks with a cult following. Like a proper.
It's also worldwide. It's because touring cars is quite very popular in the UK, but it's not very because you've got world touring cars.
The world touring cars.
And then if you think about it, the only reason Silverstone is well known is because of Formula One.
Yeah.
And that is officially, in my mind, the official BAM stamp of I'm right because it's me. Is that is the most boring motorsport there is?
It's good and it's bad. It used to be.
It has its moments.
Come back to me when they let Mazda put a rotary F1 car out, and then we'll talk. Until then, I don't want to know anymore.
I think the reason that Silverstone is as popular as it is because if an international motorsport comes to the UK, 90% of the time it goes to Silverstone.
Yep.
The World Endurance Championships, the GT3s, I'm fairly sure the Superbikes go there as well.
There you go, Superbikes. Oh, what?
Do you know where?
World Superbikes.
Do you know where more motorsport needs to go? So I remember. Does anyone remember Red Bull X Fighters?
Yeah, I absolutely loved that.
When they came
the
to
motocross.
Supermoto was the one.
Battersea Power Station.
Battersea Power Station.
Yeah.
That we need more stuff in Battersea Power Station.
Make a brilliant drift track, right?
Yeah.
They made a brilliant Gymkhana track. Yeah. Ken Block.
Great minds.
Circling back to our video game episode, Dirt 3 had Battersea in there, so you could do Gymkhana in it.
That was good.
Yeah. So,
speaking of video games and tracks, did you ever play Maple Valley on Forza?
That was a completely made-up track.
Exactly, but I wish it was real. It's the American track, but the way it was it's just perfect.
There's a few of those that I wish were real.
Yeah. What would you wish? Forest Park?
Forest Park from Assetto Corsa would be a good one. But there were quite a few Gran Turismo tracks, that like Grand Valley Speedway and stuff up in the mountains.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah.
What was it? The other Forest Raceway and this one, yeah.
So basically, I think what we're saying is we need more tracks. We need
maybe more tracks. We need more variety, but just reasons to go to them. You know,
we'll be able to use the tracks that we've got.
Yeah.
There's loads of tracks, but we're not allowed to drift on them.
And this,
or They should do
that's
it.
exclusive to drifting, though. If you want to go and do a grip day at any of the tracks in the UK, it's fairly easy to get a day doing it.
100%. Like Bedford Autodrome. Why aren't you allowed to do drifting there?
Because
Maybe you
reasons.
want to.
I know why. It's because you're all irresponsible and crash your cars into stuff all the time, boys.
Because we're bad people.
You are.
We should feel bad.
We do feel bad. We definitely do.
I
I'm not thinking
honestly,
thing.
I don't know. I genuinely, I cannot see any reason in this country why motorsport has become so fringe. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's Is it that it's just not on telly anymore?
I think there's not enough money in it.
Is it
That
that we
doesn't
pay grown men in shorts to run around a piece of grass too much money, and for some reason worship them?
I mean, it's going to be a combination of factors, isn't it?
I've just done a Google. I just did cause I can't remember what Bedford's like. I've seen it, but not many. And I was like, what's that? And it's RAF Thurley. And I look, it's just full of cars.
Yeah.
So a lot of places that could be used for events, it's just made into car parks. Speaking of which, Rockingham.
Yeah, and now I think we are getting towards, we've had a quick waffle in the middle of the episode about our thoughts on what's going to go on. We kind of know Ebisu is going to be fixed, but Rockingham.
Perfectly working track.
Perfectly working track that is now full of all the cars that nobody's bought this year because no one's been allowed to go to a dealership.
And they just keep getting moved around from that site to another holding site 6 minutes down the road, but then get moved somewhere else.
The problem Rockingham had was it was always destined to fail because it was built for a championship that ceased to exist not long after they finished building it.
It was a NASCAR type, wasn't it? Pickup truck.
Yeah, it was European NASCAR, and the series didn't really take off, and then Rockingham never got used for its intended purpose. That and one of the grandstands was condemned pretty much straight away, which didn't help. But then it was, as soon as it was built, that was it. It was destined to fail. But the thing is, tracks can work in the UK. Just look at Driftland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rockingham was a shame because it disappeared, like you say, because of financial reasons. Actually, there are a lot of other tracks which are still around that are doing just fine. That I don't know. Rockingham was
But so that if I remember rightly, going back to, I think it was the last touring car event that was there at that race. I don't think Rockingham had closed at that point. I think they were saying we're probably not going to be back here next year. And I think it was Tiff Nadell that they interviewed at the actual track, or it was some ex-racing driver that they were talking to, and they said that every year they come here, the track is great, the track's fantastic, the facilities are great, but it felt soulless, and I think that's the thing. It lacked something. Whereas you go to Silverstone, for example, and there's something there.
No.
The inability to go over 5 miles an hour on track. That's what Rockingham's missing.
But Rockingham I was there for one of the touring car races. Sorry, Matt. It was Rob Austin he was the people's car racer.
Yeah.
And it was the final corner of the final lap, and he overtook someone, and everyone in the grandstands were up on their feet cheering, and it felt like you didn't realise you was getting excited, and everyone was like, "Come on!" and you all start bit edging, and then eventually you're all sent up cheering, and you sit back down and go, "That was like an energy release."
You get that at every track though, because I've seen the touring cars at Silverstone as well, and it's the same there.
I've had a sleep at Silverstone in the grandstands.
Really? I've done that same thing. So my dad took me to the F1 when I was little, and I got so excited through the night that I didn't sleep, and then I slept through the middle of the race, so I skipped the boring bit.
They're so loud.
I
So
know.
loud.
I slept through the F3 cars, or junior F3 cars. But we was there for a touring car day, and we slept in the car overnight, and it was freezing cold. So I had my coat, and I was just like,
I think everywhere you go in the world, tracks are going to be kind of, they're either going to be a really popular thing in a country, or they're going to be one of those things that, like, they never really get to be.
the thing is, though, this is our chance, though, as racers and drifters, whatever. We need to take it upon ourselves. If we go to a track, we go there, we make sure we're clean, we clean our pit areas, we drift and play where we'd get told we're allowed to, and don't go bombing around the access roads and don't drift out of the
Sensible
circuit.
on the way home.
There's a problem with that. I'm in two minds about that, right? For something we possibly lack here, maybe, or just a thing in general. I've been out to Gapville, right? And that is an enormous car festival, and it is a weekend of madness, and it is utter madness. And if you watch videos of stuff like the US grid life, it's just a weekend at a track, and people go absolutely wild. But in that safe little bubble, it's kind of okay. So your man doing his rolling burnout, I'm in two minds, because it's like, that's bad.
I think,
because clearly nobody was vibing off of that and he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you almost feel like there should be this little bubble, this ability to do this somewhere, but we don't really do that here.
We've got a mutual friend in Alex at Driftworks, and that boy has, every time I've been at any event with him, got that ability, Bryn, that you say, that he just knows the right time to start getting rowdy, right? It gets. I remember being at a show with him, and it just getting rowdy one night in front of the stand, and it was just the right time for it. Everyone was vibing off it. It was the right time, and I accept there are times like that when it's perfectly acceptable to go and fight the Holden fans at Bathurst. Right? Just go to Bathurst, get drunk with the boys, pick a side, and either fight the Ford boys or fight the Holden boys, or have a night where you fight each one. And that's, there's that environment, and that environment is a great environment to be in. Yeah?
I don't think we do that very well here. Like I said, I've been out there, and you see the videos from the big events out in America, and it's kind of like that. It's people getting rowdy at the right time. Whereas here, I've done camping at shows, and pretty much every drift event, it's a multiple day thing, the BDC stuff. But there isn't that same feel. When you go camping at Jap Fest, there's a field full of people all in cars, and you feel amazing. You go walking around with your beer and you look at your cars, and then that's kind of it. People are just sort of in their little area.
Their bubbles.
Yeah, JAE was a bit better, but I never got the same feeling that I got at Gapville of just walking around this utter paradise for a few days. It still felt like a small thing where a load of people have met up, and then we'll all go home in a couple of days.
But I think
the same.
I think shows like JAE and Yakushi are made by the people you're on stand with. It's not the whole crowd. Like, you could have gone, you were with me the year of Pickle Rick, right? And if we hadn't had Pickle Rick, and the people that were there, and the water slide that you fell flat on your ass on, and mobbed, but that's the nature of, like, you go to a show with the Violent Running crew, and we take stupid toys, we create science with alcohol if it's a multi-dayer, and we get a little bit rowdy, but we tend to stay rowdy on our stand because.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if is that an English thing? Is that a UK thing? Do we not branch out? And is that the issue? Is that why this you don't feel this community at these events, because we tend to stay in our little bubbles, and I think we possibly do.
Yeah, definitely do, because you go.
I would agree, because the last camping Yakushi, not last year but the year before, me and Joe's one of the videographers that helps me at shows. We're at Yukushi, and we're the only two of the crew that had gone. We had loads of guests on stand with us, and they were being really chill about things. So me and Joe went on a science adventure, which involved 2 jars of moonshine and some cloudy lemonade. And we visited everybody at Yukushi, whether they wanted to be visited or not. And there was people getting us involved in their drinking games, but they didn't leave their stand. There was some lovely ladies that gave me box wine, worst box wine I've ever drank. Gave it away to somebody else as a result of it being the worst box wine I'd ever drank. And like at the end of the night, me and Joe rolled down the hill to get back to our camp. But
it's just a UK thing. Everyone's very stuck up.
I don't think it's specific to the UK, because if you go to a drift event, quite often you'll get chatting to whoever you're in the pits with, because we're all there because we love drifting. And I think the difference with that and a show is everybody at a show event hasn't come. They've all come because it's a show, but they've all come in different types of show cars. Because obviously you've got like stance cars and air versus static, and then you've got like people who do sub builds and body kits, and they're all different. So you end up siloing in a sort of mini community of like-minded people, and everybody else doesn't agree with you. Whereas you go to a drift event and everybody's there for the same reason.
What on drift events? Okay, so when I go to a lot of the competition events, what I want to do is turn up at the track, and I want to be there for 3 days, and then at the end of Sunday, I will go home, right? That is, if my little dream world, that's what I want, hanging out in the pits with people, having fun. That's not what happens. When you turn up at the end of the first night, everybody goes back to their hotels, and then they come back the next morning, and at the end of that night, they go back to their hotels, which I think that's possibly because tracks here aren't a million miles away from anywhere. But in the US, people bring their rigs, and they bring their friends, and they bring their tents, and people.
They've got the space for it.
I think they've got the space for it, but also because they've got the space for it, the tracks are far enough away from hotels that, like, why wouldn't you just camp? Which we don't really do here. I think missing that.
I think the other flip side of that is you're talking about a competition event, so it is slightly different, because when you're at the track, you're doing your own thing, you're concentrating on your own car and working on your own car. Then you go home, you go back to the hotel in the evening, and right, okay, what do we need to do for the following day? What changes do we need to make? And it's ever so slightly different.
But Bryn, you say that sometimes though.
You are right with the whole camping thing. Nobody camps.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they'll go to because the track is so close to the hotel, they'll all go to either one of 2 hotels. So then you go down to the bar, and then you've got other people. Then you end up having drinks and food with the other people sometimes.
Yeah, that's all right. But I want to be at the track all the time. I want to be within licking distance of every car at all times. I am never happier than after the event wandering around the pits. That is peak time.
But that's the thing, because you're at the track on your own in your own tent. You can lick every car.
I can lick every car. BDC 2021 Bryn Licking Championships. I'm coming for you. If you find a big smear up your driver's window in the morning, it was me.
I cannot wait to release the sticker that just says it's Bryn Licking good.
You got licks. Oh, Bryn, wait for Norfolk Arena. You're gonna love that one.
I'm not licking any cars at Norfolk Arena. If it's dirty, my tongue doesn't touch it. That is a statement.
That's an important life lesson there.
Public disclaimer.
Public disclaimer. If it's not washed, Bryn ain't licking it.
Well, we've definitely gone on a tangent, but I think that's a good summary of.
So genuinely, like, this week's episode, it's been a bit shorter than normal, partly because there's been a few of us on night shifts again, and tracks doesn't warrant an hour and a half of exploration like drifting does, but he's been Milton.
No, you're not ending it there. We've not done Rockingham.
Oh, I'm not ending it. Apparently, Bryn is overriding.
He's got more to say about
That
Rockingham.
was, by the way, that was Bryn's over there. Bryn's under you.
No, he's not. I've moved you all around into the normal spots.
Wait, what? Okay.
Bryn's under me.
That's wrong.
It's his
Every
favourite
time
place.
So I've been trying to high five Bryn that way, but he's over there.
Yeah.
The
Other way, Milton. You literally...
Oh, what?
That's how. There you
That's
go.
it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so wrong. It's so wrong.
It's not wrong.
Rockingham, Bryn, go.
Yes.
Bryn's
Let's talk
got some
about
stuff to
Rockingham.
say. So let's go.
Anyone in the drift community that you speak to is intensely sad about the fact that Rockingham disappeared. As we've already covered, Rockingham disappeared actually really due to financial reasons, but it's a shame because it was perfect, and it was perfect for many reasons, and that's the important thing here. Just as there are many reasons for the decline of things, there are many reasons for why Rockingham was so good. It wasn't necessarily just the track. As we've already said, the main bit at Rockingham that everybody remembers was just a square of tarmac. It was a car park at the track. For the most part, we didn't use the main track. But it's in the middle of everywhere. It's right in the middle of the country. So people from absolutely everywhere could get there within a few hours. That's one reason it was perfect. The man who ran it, Sweeps, did just an amazing job of making everybody feel welcome. You went to one of his briefings and you got excited for the day. You were hyped to go on track. And he was very much about the social element. He wanted you to be helping people and talking to people. Another reason was seat time. He restricted the number of cars so that you weren't just queuing all the time. And he generally ran it as a sprint layout. In fact, I think it was only a sprint layout. So there was a starting point and an ending point. And that meant that you got a lot of seat time because cars were moving through quickly. Because there was a lot of seat time, you didn't feel like you had to be on track all the time. If you had 20 minutes downtime, that was a good thing. So people were talking in the pits. People, for some reason, and I still don't know why, people wanted to bring nice cars. When you went to Rockingham, everybody else's car, for the most part, felt good. You knew these people. You knew who they were. You liked what they were doing. And so there was this community party atmosphere. You turn up at Rockingham, you know you are going to have a good time. And that is what everybody absolutely loved about it. And that's what we've been missing since, is there hasn't been that jewel of the Midlands that Rockingham became. I literally moved where I am now to be nearby Rockingham. And
Wow.
the 2 or 3 years that Rockingham Drift Days ran when I was here were honestly the best drifting I've ever had. You would go, you would have the time of your life with people and you would go home happy. And since it closed, we haven't really had that.
So,
Are you listening, Donington?
so what
Yes.
Bryn is saying is...
Donington could be that. Donington, get Sweeps on board, get that man to run Drift Days, and you will make an absolute killing because everyone will be there.
You want to say his full name, Bryn, just
that's not
so...
what you're saying. That's not what you're saying. What you're
man?
saying is, like, subscribe, comment, get us to a few million subscribers so we can afford to build our own track, hire Sweeps, and run our own damn drift day.
Should we just move to America, yeah? Go full Cletus.
No, because that doesn't solve the problem for the UK.
Yeah, but I might do it.
I mean, if we're going for Cletus, at least I can have a mullet like Bryn.
It solves the problem for us four, so...
All right,
do it.
yeah, I'm in. I'm pretty sure Amy can tattoo over there as well, so...
Sweet.
They've got
Alright.
computers over there, right?
And on that note, goodbye, UK.
Rough. Next week
he's
from
been
America.
Goodbye.
He's been Brent.
Hell yeah, brother!
That's been Matt. And I've been this guy. See you next week.
Bye, guys. Miss you, Rockingham.